I want to talk to you a little bit about the choice of Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris was the one that Stu and I were worried about at the beginning because we thought she was the most likable. It turns out she's not the most likable. In fact, she's very unlikable. Her unpopularity outside of the core Democratic base is unbelievable. Harris collapsed in the presidential polls. She was tied second place at 15%, and she was in low double digits by September. Her favorability was way underwater with independents, with 33 unfavorable to 29 favorable. She was never above water there, and there's a reason for it. She is very, very strident. She is somebody who is a cop, seems to be pro-cop, but I don't know how that's going to help her. I worry about that because I think that helps her with the people who are independent or the Democrats who are worried about this insanity that is going on in our streets. But she also has some real issues. Let me go to cut one. This is her as the Attorney General, and she's talking about how she brought charges to people whose children were truant at school, and this was about a single homeless mother of 3. She was working 2 jobs, and listen to what Kamala said, and listen to the glee she has in her voice.
We created what we call the DA mediation program, where we assigned prosecutors to go and sit with the administrators and principals when they met with all the parents. And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there, and I said, when you go over there, look really mean. And so they did, and invariably the parent said, well, who's the mean-looking dude? And the principal would say, well, that's someone that mean DA Kamala Harris sent over here because she said she's going to start prosecuting you if we can't work this out. And through that initiative, we found cases like the case of the woman who was by herself, raising her 3 children, holding down 2 jobs, and homeless. She just needed some help. But by shining this infrared spotlight of public safety on the fact that her children aren't in school, we were able to figure that out.
When she said she just needed help, she just needed to be threatened by a big, scary officer of the law and threatened to put her in jail. She loves jail for some people and doesn't love jail for other people. Here she is on ICE.
The Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we
the head
call
of
them a
ICE.
domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and
It
force?
was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between sworn
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware
Okay.
that there's a perception?
Let's move on. Here she is on race again with Joe Biden on busing. Do you remember
Do you
this?
agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well,
I
there
did
was
not
a
oppose.
failure of states to integrate
No, but-
public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a
So
local
that's
decision.
where the federal government must step
The
in. That's why
federal
we have the
government
Voting
must
Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act.
Okay, so she was accusing him of being a racist, but she also has accused him of being somebody who has sexually assaulted women. Here she is on believing the accusers against Biden.
I believe them, and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it.
Do you believe that the vice president should enter this race?
He's going to have to make that decision for himself. I wouldn't tell him what to do.
But now she'll stand by him, even though she believed the accusers. And then, of course, we remember the Jussie Smollett attack that was completely bogus. And here's what she said.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching that.
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned about, obviously.
We dropped the audio. There was more to that. But anyway, we all know what she said. She was backing Jussie Smollett. As we know, that was complete fabrication on his part. So here you have a woman who I'm not sure who the appeal is supposed to be for. Is she the culture warrior that she sometimes seems she is? Is she the cop? Because the people who like her, all in Medicare for all, culture cop, the people who like that don't like the fact that she was a cop, the top cop. And the Medicare people don't like the top cop thing, and the people who like the top cop thing don't like her socialist and cancel culture attitude. So where is the appeal here? I'm not sure, but I think it was a safe pick for him only because 50% of the Democratic voters believe that Joe Biden will not finish his first term. That is incredible. That shows you how much they hate Donald Trump, that they will vote for a guy who they don't think can finish his term. So he needed somebody that everybody knew, that had some kind of real experience in government. At the time, I think, for the independents to be able to say, no, we've got an attorney general here. We've got somebody who knows about the law and can get this thing under control. And somebody that people would feel comfortable with. All the while, you'll notice how many times stories are started now with historic pick. It's a historic pick because you're going to start hearing the possibility of Joe Biden not making it. From the mainstream media, you're going to start hearing that because it will be another Barack Obama. It will be a historic win. Now, the one thing that you should know is that she's always cast herself, I hate to use that word, but she has always cast herself as an Indian whose father was Jamaican. She, for a long time, was not African American. She was an Indian. Now you don't really even hear that. But it's kind of a hard sell because in India, they have a caste system and the Brahmins are the very top. So she is, in India, her family would be the oppressor. So she's kind of got that going for her as well. If I were if I were Donald Trump, the first thing I would do is I would reach out to Carmen Best. Carmen Best is the Seattle chief of police that I think was very reasonable. I'm sure she's a progressive. I mean, she's in Seattle, so I'm sure she's a progressive, et cetera, et cetera. But I think she actually cares about law and order. And I would reach out to Carmen Best. I don't really even care about the vice presidential role, but Donald Trump needs a strategy for the inner cities. And I think Americans and independents look at Carmen Best and say, she was at least reasonable. and bring her in and make her some sort of a, some sort of a czar, some sort of a community outreach that can work with these cities that are under siege and bring her into the fold, because he needs to have a strategy for law and order, because that's, I think, the only thing that Kamala Harris brings, beside the fact that she doesn't like, she doesn't like Catholics. She also thinks that abortion should be on demand at any time. She was the first prosecutor to use California eavesdropping laws against a journalist. She's the one that brought the lawsuit against the journalist that got the tapes of Planned Parenthood selling body parts. That was her that got the charges brought against him. She believes that pro-lifers should be treated like segregationists. She has argued this publicly. 70% of Americans believe that there should be restrictions on abortion, but she says they're acting outside. Anybody who wants to do that is acting outside the bounds of democratic legitimacy. She called the Knights of Columbus extremists. Wow. So how is she going to unite? Well, she might be able to unite on the fact that she doesn't like gun owners, pro-lifers, homeschoolers, traditional religions, because they all have reason to fear persecution in an administration where she has sway. And I do believe she will be the next president. I can't believe there's a group of people that want to elect somebody that they, at the top of the ticket, that they believe is out. But apparently that's enough for some people. Bernie supporters don't like him. Bernie, of course, has sold. I mean, he sold his soul. But the press secretary for Sanders, no. We're in the midst of the largest protest movement in American history. The subject, which is excessive policing, and the Democratic Party chose a top cop, the author of the Joe Biden crime bill, to save us from Trump. The contempt for the base is wow. Michael Tracy said Biden's selection is nightmarishly bad pick in every way. Kamala's presidential campaign was a total humiliating disaster, one of the worst of all time, considering the amount of unearned hype she received. Did everybody miss that or what? Jordan Sheridan said, another progressive left, well, there you have it. Joe Biden gives the middle finger to progressives, Black Lives Matter protesters, black voters under the age of 50. Status Quo co-founder Jordan Sheridan. Biden's going with a strategy, brilliant move of picking somebody for VP who is despised by both the right and the left. Another progressive. This is when everyone who either said that they would never vote for Bernie in the general election or argued that he could never win because he's a socialist Jew will attack anyone criticizing Harris for strategic or moral reasons as handing the election to Trump. Is she another Hillary Clinton, or is she a real danger?